Welcome to the Herbalist Path. If you love learning about the power of plant medicine and how to use it in your life, this show is for you. I'm Mel Butterspot, clinical herbalist, herbal educator, and your host. In each episode, you're going to hear me sharing herbal insights and knowledge from my 25 plus years of working with and learning from the plants. Plus, I'm going to share interviews with some of the most amazing herbalists, educators, farmers, and healers out there, all bringing their herbal wisdom here for you. Really, this show is all about continuing this movement to put an herbalist in every home and a healer in every community. Again, thank you so much for listening, and welcome to the Herbalist Path. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode on the Herbalist Path. I'm really excited about today's guest because I'm so interested in hearing about your story and journey. And our guest today is a student of mine, actually. Her name's Monica Pastrana, and she is the owner of Bellebrook Botanicals in Wisconsin, which maybe we'll get to a funny little connection story on that here soon in the episode as well. But it's been really, really beautiful to watch you, Monica, as you've built your business and you've got this beautiful brand and people in your community that are eager to use your products. And from somebody who has done this work that you're doing right now, it's so much fun to watch you on that journey. So first, welcome to the Herbalist Path.
Thanks, Mel. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here too. And I'm really curious, I am curious how you got on this herbalist path. I mean, I'm in Oregon, and so everybody becomes an herbalist, it seems, but you're in Wisconsin. And I'm curious what drew you to the plants and to recognizing that they are so wonderful in so many ways.
Yeah. So I would say my plant journey is probably a little bit different. Whenever I hear people's stories about plant journey, they usually talk about when they were a kid or they grew up with some herbalism in the family. And while I liked being outside, we grew up camping. I feel very at home outside in nature, all of those lovely things. I didn't really get into herbalism until I was an adult.
Herbals?
Professionally, I guess in my career, I grew up in healthcare. And so I have done a lot of different things in healthcare, usually on the back end, looking at projects, looking at processes, trying to make things more efficient. So kind of like working right alongside with healthcare providers. And what I found to be extremely consistent in that work that I did was everybody was frustrated. I was always trying to make things better. I was always trying to improve access to care, always trying to make sure we're educating our patients about how to properly utilize healthcare so we're not overwhelming the system and making everything more expensive. All of these different things. And it's like the caregivers are frustrated. The providers are frustrated. The patients are frustrated. Everyone is so frustrated. And so that was my life for a very, very long time in my career. And then pair that with Monica personally. So personally, I really enjoy eating very healthy foods. We moved out to where I am now about 5 years ago and really kind of got set on the path of homesteading, or at least really supercharged gardening, and got some animals and things along those lines. And that's when kind of herbalism kicked into high gear. And it was like this light bulb moment where my professional experience married with my personal desires and knowledge and all of those things that I felt right to be and true with going to food as medicine or growing your own food and really turning towards more of a natural approach versus the processed approach. It's like the more people can utilize plants and herbs to promote health and well-being, the less strain on the healthcare system we have. and the more appropriate use of the healthcare system we can have. Like the healthcare system's great. If I cut my arm off, I want to go to the emergency room. I'm not going to, I mean, maybe like if I got a deep cut, I might put Yarrow on it first, but then I'm headed to the healthcare system, right? The emergency room. But it was like this merging of paths. I was on this trajectory professionally where I saw all of these issues. And then personally, as I went down this rabbit hole of, eating whole foods and growing foods and all of those things, kind of stumbled into herbalism. I took this course where I made a bunch of remedies for colds and flus and handed them to my family. And lo and behold, they worked. And I was like, why is not everybody talking about this? Why isn't everybody doing this? Why is everybody running to, the emergency room or urgent care at the first sign of sniffles or an earache or just these simple, common, everyday things? And it was like magic. It was like, all right, this is a problem that I know is a big problem, and we can help solve it with herbs and getting them into people's homes.
Hallelujah. Amen. I love that story. That is so good, especially with that background. And I feel like a lot of people in the allopathic medical systems are starting to see this more and more like, oh, hold on a second. This isn't really healthcare, right? Like it's essential, right? Western medicine is amazing. The science and the life-saving skills and tools that they have developed is mind-blowing, but you nailed it. Like the more we can incorporate that natural, holistic lifestyle and food and plants as medicine, like we won't have to be so reliant upon that system. I love that. So that is so fun. And speaking of your supercharged garden / homestead, it is so pretty, Monica. When I see pictures on your website, I'm like, oh, I want to go sit in your garden. It looks so lovely. We used to have 10 acres and we're doing something similar at one point in time. And what a beautiful space to have and a great way to grow medicine for the people in your community. So I love that you have developed Bellebrook Botanicals. It's really, really gorgeous. Your website is gorgeous. I know that the products are great because I know the people that you've learned from. And I love that you have a diverse array of people that you have learned from. I think it's so important, but I would love to hear a little bit about what went into your thoughts and your ideas as you started developing products for Bellebrook. Like, what do your people need? How do you find that out?
Yeah. So the way my foundation for my products is really simple, easy, approachable for products for everyday life. So what are the things people are dealing with every day that they're kind of turning to a drugstore for, or they feel like they maybe need to go to a provider for, that maybe we can work with something at home first. And then if that's not working, please seek out medical attention and all of those things. But what can we do at home first? So that's really where I started the foundation of my product line. My product line started off with 3 products. So my first 3 products were fire cider. And then there was a ruby red cider, which I still have. And that's like a sweeter version of a fire cider, just because I like super spicy and fiery and zingy, but not everybody does. And then elderberry syrup. So just very simple, very easy, approachable products that you could take. And they're very food-like. So again, it's unintimidating for others to try it, right? Herbalism might be second nature to me and then my family or the people I hang around with because I talk about it so much. But it's not to the common public. Especially I live in rural Wisconsin. And so in rural areas, it's even less common. And I know we go to urban areas. When I go into Madison, a city that I'm just south of, people know what fire cider is and all that, but not necessarily here. So I started with those 3 products. And that was just like the first winter I started, I had those 3 products. And then as people started using them, I'd get feedback of, hey, do you have, something for cuts or scrapes? Or, hey, I've got, my mom has very dry skin. So she'd ask me, do you have something for dry skin? And so as people just kind of asked about different things after they had used my first original, the OG products of Bellebrook Botanicals, just started to build my product line from there. And so now I've got a lot of different teas that people can work with, because tea is very, again, approachable. It's something people are familiar with. I've noticed that people are much more willing to work with a tea than a tincture at first. Tinctures take a little bit more time and explanation, or at least some familiarity with herbalism for people to start trying, but teas are very approachable. And so my very first tea is my Nourish Me tea blend. And it has nettles and oat straw and red clover and a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of licorice. So it tastes like a southern, like sweet tea almost, because it's got that licorice in there that's nice and gives the tea a little bit of a sweet flavor. But again, it's very food-like, right? It's just these nourishing, building, very vitality-rich herbs that people can use on a daily basis, again, to boost their health and wellness.
I love that. That sounds really, really yummy. Like, as you mentioned all the herbs, I can like put that flavor profile of each one going into this glass and kind of envision myself drinking it down and tasting the licorice on my tongue and that little warmth from the cinnamon. It sounds really, really nice, like a cinnamon sweet tea.
It is. It's fantastic, especially iced. I really like drinking that ice because I'll do it as a long infusion overnight. So I'm pulling out all the properties of it because it has those mineral-rich herbs in there. I mean, you could brew it, 20 minutes, but I always do it overnight and then I just ice it, especially in the summer when I'm working in the garden.
The best.
The best.
I love that. That sounds super, super yummy. So I want to hear more about like your story and the connections. So as you started getting into herbs, and I would imagine you're pretty intimate with some of the people that you work with professionally in whichever aspects of the medical system that you're working with. Did you get to that point where they're like, wait a second, what are you studying? Like, what are you talking about? Or were they just like, sure, okay, whatever, which?
So, I would say a little bit of both, right? It depends on the person and their openness to things. I still work 3 days a week outside of Bellebrook Botanicals, but I definitely have like a work apothecary. So when I have people come into my office, I still work in the healthcare system. When I have people come into my office, some people are like, ooh, what do you have? And how do you use that? Whether it's like a tincture for stress and anxiety and just help me to get through my workday, or herbal teas that I might be drinking. They'll ask about it, and other people are just like, I see what's going on here. One thing I think that I've really tried to walk, like my fine line, being that I am in healthcare, there's a lot of things in healthcare. People have very strong beliefs. People went to school for many, many, many years to do what they are doing and doing life-saving and very important work. So I usually wait for people to talk to me about it. When people start asking me about it and they're interested in it, then I will start talking to them about herbs. Or, I've had people at work come up to me and say, hey, can you help me with this? And I formulated on top of my product line, I'll also formulate for individuals if they come to me and they have a specific issue that they want assistance with. So I'll formulate, whether it's like menopause support or digestion, more like if it's not specific to what I've got here in my product line, digestive support. And I usually wait for people to come to me. So I don't have a lot of run-ins with medical professionals because I'm not preaching to them about the herbs. That's the stance I've taken.
Well, I think that's a really important stance to take because there are many people that are skeptical, and I've come to that conclusion throughout my journey and time also. Like, hey, I have this knowledge and we can talk about it if you want. You know this, and I'm not here to change your mind on anything because that's just a battle not worth fighting. Save yourself a lot of stress and yeah. But
the funny thing, though, is when you help someone and they start telling other people at work that whatever you gave them actually resulted in the outcome that they're looking for. Like I had a coworker who came very specifically for menopausal support, was having a lot of hot flashes and was like, I cannot function. Like I am not sleeping. I have night sweats. I am not functioning very well. So I was like, let's just make up a tincture really quick. I think I put in some black cohosh, some motherwort. I put in a little milky oat tops and skullcap because she was having some spinning mind and nervous system things going on, and tried that. And she was like, that works. And then once they start telling other people that works, then you have more people coming to you, asking you about, well, can you help me with this? Or can you help me with that? And I think that's how you can make believers out of traditionally trained medical professionals.
Absolutely. Let the herbs do the talking, basically. And people, they're becoming more and more curious. And especially since the pandemic happened, I have watched just the explosion of herbal curiosity happen. It's been really amazing and lovely and wonderful. And it's so great to have more herbalists like you that are willing to share that information at the right time in the right place. So I love the formula that you whipped up for her. I'm curious for you, how did you get to a point that you can just be like, oh, well, I'm going to toss these herbs? Because obviously, I know you're in the community herbalist program. I know you've been in Medicine Making Mamas and taken quite a few other programs as well. And there's a lot to know when you're formulating for a unique individual. But I wonder what things have helped you get to that point where you're like, okay, these are the ones that I'm going to put in here.
Yeah. So I would say at this point in my herbalism journey, I still do research. When someone comes up to me and is asking, hey, I've got this going on, what do you think? Of course, I've got herbs that are going to pop into my mind. Like, oh, maybe this herb and oh, maybe that herb. I'll think about like what's happening in the body, right? What's actually going on. So they're sweaty, they're hot, they're this or that. Like, what's that physical expression happening? And then why is that happening? Right. And then use that information to maybe have some herbs that I'm thinking of. But then I go to my books and I just start looking, I might think, oh, motherwort's going to be great for this. Black cohosh is going to be great for this. But go through and just confirm that what I'm thinking is going to be appropriate. And then look for some nice supporting herbs for kind of maybe the lead herb that I might be thinking of, and then how I can supplement that lead herb.
I love that. And I think, you said at this point, I'm still researching, right, with each formula, but just to affirm with you, I am also still researching, like when I write lessons for programs, when I formulate for another person. It's really important because there's so much to learn about each and every herb. And I think you did hit the nail on the head right away when you said, sure, herbs pop into your head. Like there's that intuitive thing, you've learned about the herb a bunch, and suddenly it just becomes like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'd turn to in that. But then you do need to go back and make sure, like, is this really the one? Is this going to work well with the other herbs in the formula? Is this person on any medications? Are there other things that I observe about this person that maybe she didn't tell me about, but I can see it? Those kinds of pieces that all come together. I feel like it's playing detective kind of, and detective and crafty creator all in one. Like, it's so much fun.
And a partnership too, right?
Mm.
So we'll come up with a formula, and I'm always like, try this. Here's how I suggest you work with this. But if you feel like it might be working, but you're just not quite where you want to be, try a little bit more. If you work with a suggested, recommendation that I give you, and you're like, oh, that feels like it's too much, try a little bit less. Or if you're like, hey, this really helped with the hot flashes, but didn't help with, the nervous system, support that I'm looking for, the anxiety, the spinning thoughts, those types of things, then we can take that information back and tweak the formula. So I always am like, just because I researched it and I looked at it doesn't mean I hit the nail on the head the first time. So this is a discussion, or like a partnership between whomever I'm working with, between them and I, that we'll figure it out together. And I need their feedback just as much as they need mine.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that piece. So, as you're talking about this and coworkers and the menopausal issues, I'm curious how you deal with the people. I just had this happen last night from someone I've known for 15 plus years who's very into all the things that allopathic medicine can do for you. And she knows what I do very much. And she actually reached out to me yesterday of all times. It's like, hey, Melly, I've got brain fog. I'm pretty sure it's perimenopausal, but I almost can't function. What teas can I have? And I'm like, obviously it's a bigger thing than a text message. But my first question to her was like, well, knowing her well, I'm like, first of all, are you even going to drink teas regularly? Like, are you? Because I don't think you are. So let's find out what you are going to do. But then my question to you, Monica, is like, how do you deal with those people where they're like, hey, I have this one problem. What herbs do I need from you right now? Without being willing to share a bit more information with you.
I actually had that happen recently. It's a ex-coworker of mine. Just moved on to bigger, better things, but reached out and they're like, what herbs do you have for inflammation? And I was like, well, that is a loaded question.
That one's always great. What about my inflammation? Yeah, it's like saying, like, here's my white can of pub beer. How much more generic of a term can we talk? But go on.
When that happens, I usually either A, send a long-winded text, if it's texting back and forth, or get on a phone call. And I have the good old herbalist talk of, well, we need to figure out what's causing inflammation and why we have inflammation in your body in the first place. And I usually just try to gather a bunch of information from them for like this individual around what they're eating. Have they taken a food sensitivity test? Would they be interested in taking a food sensitivity test? What's their activity level like? What's their day-to-day like? All of that information. And we have the conversation. And I think I've talked to you about this before with a different issue, but it's the same conversation that I have is herbs can work very effectively and do work very effectively. I believe in them. I have a business based around them. However, if we're going to continue to put logs on the inflammation fire, the herb will support whatever I make. Tea, tincture, tonic, like apple cider vinegar, something. Doesn't matter what I'm making. If you're going to continue to chuck herbs, dry wood on this raging bonfire, anything I give you is going to be like a little squirt gun. Like maybe it's a big super soaker Nerf gun if I really do my job well, and we can get out a portion of the fire. But really, it's starting to talk about lifestyle changes is where I start. So that's usually where I start and see what feels workable with them, see what they're willing to do, see what their budget allows them to do. And then in the meantime, what herbs can we work with to help support them in the immediate time frame where they're suffering, right? Like they're calling or they're reaching out because they're in a tough spot. And they're like, someone please save me. I don't know what to do. So
yeah,
do long term and how can we get that fire down, even if we can't get it all the way out, so that herbs become more effective. But what can I provide you some support with immediately?
Yeah, that's a really great and fine balance to be able to develop because we do need to give them something that makes them be like, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. This can really help me as we help them open up to the perspective of like, oh, I'm actually going to have to make some shifts in my life, do the things that everybody knows they're supposed to do. We all know that sugar is bad, right? We all know that we need to eat cleaner diets. We all, we know those things, but it's a different thing between knowing and actually living and doing. And that becomes a large part of the process with this whole thing. And of course, I love the analogy you brought up of the raging bonfire, because it's true. It's such the perfect analogy to share with people. They can envision that, right? They can see that. And they're like, oh, okay, inflammation. And then like there's the whole piece of like, hey, wait, inflammation isn't always a bad thing, right? It's the body doing a lot of talking too. It's a great way of communication. We just have to be able to listen to that.
We get all of the blood and the lymph and all the different healing properties to the things that need to be supported, right?
Go do their job.
Doing their job. It's just sometimes they're doing their job a little too well. The bonfire is so big.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's another thing. Like, I love that you brought up the budget for her, like this person, like what is within their budget. And this is where like you're talking about your simple kitchen medicine kind of remedies and making it really approachable and simple for people, because it can get really flippin' expensive to do all of this. And in that, I'm hearing you on your path, and like, you said 5 years ago, you moved out to the country, you started adopting more and more of those kind of more natural, holistic ways of being. I know you're big into sourdough. I know you love your garden. I remember when I was really heavily focused on making those shifts as well in my family. And in the beginning, it can be expensive. But once you have those staples built up, you get to that maintenance point, and it's nowhere near as expensive. I feel that's what I've found through that. But it is a process and it is a journey, and I feel it is worth it. Just the dramatic differences I've seen in my own life, and when I don't adopt those, like I've definitely gone up and down and up and down. During various points of life where I've been like super adamant, 0 gluten, 0 sugar, 0 dairy. I'm paying attention to casein powder in every ingredient list. And then I've had times in life where that wasn't feasible for me. Sure, I still have all my glass jars and I'm still eating organic, and I still eat better than the majority of people in the United States. And I think that is part of our problem with this inflammatory rage around the world, definitely around our country.
Yes.
Is that it's not easy for people to live well.
No, it's not. But when you were talking, one thing that I was thinking of, and I don't know, this is probably not where you're going with this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it's what popped into my head, is like, that's what's so great about herbs. They're always there, right? They're going to be there when you are hitting it hard and you are, no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, and you're, really very strict in following your routine to the T. But then when you're not, they're there too, right? And even if they're not putting out that bonfire, like I just talked about, they're still offering supports. And what they can provide is maybe that little Nerf gun, the little squirt gun, is just enough to give your body the space to move the notch closer to where you need to be, right? You put out enough fire. And sometimes what's going on physically, I don't want to say sometimes, almost all the time what's going on physically results in some emotional, mental load as well. So when you're having... Yes.
And that flip-flops. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. But it's like when you're having all of these health issues, or, a big health issue comes up, if you can even get something that will help you squirt out a portion of that bonfire, continuing with the analogy, then you create space So you can make that next move, because it is overwhelming when you feel like you need to overhaul everything, especially if you're just starting and you're learning, or you're talking to an herbalist or a naturopath and they're telling you, like, let's not use plastic. Let's look at the chemicals in your house. How is your food? Here's some herbal supplements. It feels very overwhelming.
100%.
Start small. Each of those small wins and start to feel a little bit better too gives you more capacity to take the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about one step and one foot in front of the other, right? Just keep going down the path. I think that is a beautiful piece of wisdom and advice. And I want to hear from you. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. In your time working with the herbs, I am curious if you were to pick one herb that has just been like, holy crap, I can't believe that worked that well. Can you share what that herb would be and what was going on with it, or goes on frequently?
I don't know about like a single herb, but I can share, like, I make this little salve. It's a warrior salve. The salve is very simple. It is calendula, it is yarrow, it's plantain, and it's comfrey. So it's four herbs. But I was actually, it's a funny story, because I had gathered a bunch of yarrow to cut up to infuse into oil to make more of this salve, right? And it was early in the morning because, again, I'm doing Bellebrook and I'm also doing life and doing my other job, right? So you fit it in when you can. It was early in the morning. I'm standing, cutting up some yarrow, and I chopped my finger off. Like, I chopped my finger off to where, like, you could see it on the counter. You're like, oh, there's that probably part. But there was a piece of it on the counter, right? Yes. So it wasn't like I just cut myself. It was like, nope, it was off. And me being the herbalist, I was like, this is perfect. I am gonna put myself to the test now. Really see if this stuff works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I was chopping up yarrow. So, like, I took a bunch of it, shoved it in my mouth, right? Chewed it up and just like smashed a big, huge yarrow poultice on my finger. And shockingly enough, like, it really helped with the pain. Yes, it stopped the bleeding. Like, I wasn't bleeding profusely like one thought I might, but I was surprised as how much it really helped with the pain of my finger. And so once I kind of had collected myself, and a couple hours later, and I was ready to like uncover the damage and take off the poultice and see what happened. I cleaned up my wound, and all I used was that salve and then bar soap, because we're kind of crunchy here. We just use a lot of bar soap. So I'm sure it was from a farmer's market, some like goat's milk bar soap. And sure as enough, my finger just healed. Like, people were saying they didn't think I'd grow my nail back, because it was like cut through my nail, cut my fingertip off, and I can't even tell that I did that, which it sounds so small and simple, but I was like,
wow.
Use any like bacitracin or neosporin, or my mom was like, I think you should go get a tetanus shot. Like, have you had one recently? And I was like, no, I think I'm just going to use this salve because it's my finger. And if I mess it up, then it's just my finger. And I did it to myself. But you can't, there's not even a scar.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And I believe it because I have seen so many situations very, very similar to that with yarrow back when I had Mountain Mel's and we had like a big warehouse space in the back. My partner, Chris, was in charge of shipping and he'd pack up all the boxes all the time. And we had one of those like paper cutters you would see in school. Yeah. Same thing with his thumb. And this one was a squirty one. And like all over. And at that point in time, it was like midwinter. So there was no fresh plant material around. And I did have a lot of dried yarrow and comfrey. And I just got that moistened up and made a poultice with it, had him hold it over his head. And like he documented it, like the whole healing process. Like it was a gnarly, gnarly cut and really, really deep in the like knuckle of his thumb. Not like separated like yours, but definitely looked like there could have been a lot of permanent damage done, but you can't even tell that anything happened at all. And it like, what an incredible herb Yarrow is. I think it's just amazing.
It is. Absolutely. I feel like people don't appreciate Yarrow enough. And another thing that I was thinking of while you were talking is like, it just takes one experience like that for someone to have. And they're like, oh my gosh, this stuff works. And it could be with whatever. And then it's like, once you have that experience also personally, you get this big empowerment feeling, right? So going back to like the medical professional background and all these things, I feel like people have given away some of their trust in themselves to know what to do, right? We constantly look to a doctor or a nurse or a PA or someone to tell us what to do. I'm feeling this way. Tell me what I should do. When you can take care of some of your healthcare problems, even if it's a simple cut, even if it's a squirty cut, or it's like a menopause symptom, when you can work with a plant, right, and take care of that yourself, it's this huge empowerment, bubbling up of emotion, I don't know what to say, that people can get. And you can start trusting yourself. People have been taking care of themselves for thousands and thousands and thousands of years by learning how to tune into the body, right? And yes, there are people who, have always been more knowledgeable about herbs and can help others. But just being able to take care of those things at home, you start building trust within yourself as well.
It's really a beautiful thing. I love that you bring that up. Like that empowerment piece it's everything. And that's one of the things I love to say. Like we need an herbalist in every single home. There should be somebody in the home that knows how to handle these emergencies, the colds and flu, your basic things that you would just pop into the drugstore and grab some crap for, right? You can make your own medicine even better. And then knowing what to do with it is so darn important. And we also need that healer in every community, the person that can go beyond the over-the-counter stuff, the person that can help you figure out what's going on in your body. What can we do to guide you into shifting yourself to a better state of homeostasis, balance, health, well-being in general? And so true. That's why they always had like the medicine woman or the medicine man, right? That's that one person, but everybody else knows what to do on those small little things. So I love that. Yeah, it is so empowering. I can't tell you how many times I felt so empowered because I have this knowledge, which now it feels intuitive. But then I also recognize, wait, I've spent many, 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 many years developing this knowledge, this skill set, this now intuition. And I love that it goes on forever. Like the continuation of the development and the next iteration of like, how can I apply this knowledge to make the world a better place? Because that's for me what the root has always been. Like, I want to heal this planet in one way, shape, or form. And I really do believe, I really, really do believe that the more people that use plants as medicine, the better off this entire planet will be. Because once you start to see, oh my gosh, that plant just grew my freaking fingertip back.
Yeah.
That helps you create this connection and appreciation for what these plants can do, which fosters this connection to nature, which hopefully for any person with any dose of sanity makes them want to do the work to take better care of these plants, of this planet, of themselves. I think there's a lot of symbiotic relationship happening in that world. And sometimes I'm like, am I just a dream kid because I've been dreaming this dream since the 90s? Or is it real? But I do see it happening a lot, and it's beautiful, and we need more of it. Like, yeah. It is so empowering. I think also like I remember when my daughter was really young, my naturopath was my midwife. She teaches at the naturopathic college here in Portland. And I was very in the development stages and already selling mountain mells in stores and things, and had been going to like clinical herb school. And I remember at one point, Anira was about 2 and she got pretty sick to the point that I was like, oh, maybe I need to call the doctor. I call and they're like, well, you know what to do. You don't need to come in. You know what to do. Just trust that. And I was like, oh, shit, you're right. I do. I do know what to do. And that was like this moment of like, that's what I've been working for. That's what I've been learning, all of these things. But I think also in the thick of it, especially when you're a new mother and you've got this young child and you're like, what do I do? What do I do? You know, a different flavor of panic comes up because it's no longer just your body. It's this miniature human's body.
You're responsible for it.
Yeah.
Keep this thing alive.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I do distinctly remember that moment where I was just like, oh yeah, rad. This is great. When the pandemic hit, I live rurally also in Oregon. And when I started getting into herbalism, it was because I wanted to do anything outside, like deep connection to nature. And I wanted to be a packing guide and a wilderness therapist. And I did. But I remember like how cool it was to start learning. I was determined to learn the plants around me, to be able to know their names, what their historical uses were. At that point, I wasn't even thinking about medicinal uses. Like I was like, what? I mean, this is also medicine, but as that started to click, it was such an empowering feeling. And that never-ending hunt for more knowledge/wisdom, right? Because we can sit there and pour all the knowledge from the internet or our books or all of that stuff. But the wisdom really comes when you watch it happen, when you sit with the plants, when you start to actually do it, right? That's beautiful. Okay, so that was a fun story from you. Give me another one.
Another fun story. Let's think. I would say I've experienced a lot of really another simple one. I feel like I keep going back to these simple herbs. It's not some fancy herb that's off from a different country or things like that. It doesn't mean I don't dabble with some of those, but a lot of the herbs that come to mind when you say, hey, tell me a great story about this herb, are herbs that grow near me, or they're like the weeds.
Isn't that like the beauty of it?
It is the beauty of it. But I would say when I first started studying herbalism, it was a time in my life that was very, very stressful, and was trying to clean up a lot of things in my life, my diet, what I was putting on my skin, probably adding to the stress. But my face was an absolute, like, I was in my 30s, of like late 30s, and it was like a mess of acne, like to point where it was worse than it was when I was a teenager. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. What is going on? Why is my face freaking out right now?
Yeah, because hold on. If anybody's listening to this, I'm like, what's her face like? And you're not seeing this on YouTube. It's shiny and glowing and clear and lovely. And you're what, 44 now? 40?
I'm 40.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looking great. Okay.
Yes. Well, and we can thank burdock roots for that.
And loving your liver.
Yes, and loving my liver. So immediately I was like, I don't know what to do. So I started drinking burdock root infusions. I think it was burdock root and dandelion root. And then I just made a very, very simple burdock tincture and just hit it for like, I want to say 3 months, 4 months. I mean, I was very consistent. It doesn't mean I did it every single day, but I was very consistent with my burdock decoctions, or I do a long infusion just because sometimes I'm a lazy herbalist and I know I should decoct the roots, but I'm like, yeah, if I let it sit for 10 hours, that should be good enough.
I get that.
Just put boiling water over the roots, cap it, and let it sit on the counter overnight and drink it through the next day. Take my burdock tincture, and my skin cleared up, it was phenomenal. Like it's again, those simple things that you can do for common everyday issues, right? I didn't go to a dermatologist. I didn't put a steroid cream on my face or an antibacterial cream on my face or any of those things that I know people are getting prescriptions for all of the time. Mm-hmm. And my skin cleared completely up.
I love that. That's so beautiful because I know, like, as herbalists, one of the first things, if somebody comes to us with skin conditions, we're instantly like, okay, what's going on with the liver? And we know that burdock is so incredibly supportive. And as you kind of brought it up, like, oh, it's just such a basic, simple herb, and that's all I'm talking about here. That's exactly it, though. Like, we don't have to go to all the super fancy, the traditional Chinese medicine or anything like that. Not to knock that whole system, like, incredible, right? But we have so many abundant plants that are the weeds. And I think that's a signature or a testament to the validity of their medicine. Here we have, now a couple hundred years of people trying to pull them out of the garden or more recently spray them with the herbs and herbicides and pesticides. And these plants keep coming back like, hey, wait, I'm here for you. I am really strong and resilient. I am medicine. I am food. I'm here for you. Like, hello. And so many people choose not to see that. But I think the more times we have somebody that's like, holy crap, you healed my finger, or holy crap, this really amazing thing happened with this plant that I would have never believed in, they start to make that connection a little bit more and see it again. Because if we think about it, like, it's only, 150, maybe 200 years on the timeline of humanity that the pharmaceutical industry has been here and tried to erase this knowledge, tried to strip this knowledge from humanity. Damn those people.
Like, just to take away your power.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Take away your power. And this conversation was just happening on a Facebook post I was in yesterday. Do you know who Nathan Wright is?
No, that name is not familiar.
He's in Michigan. He is an indigenous man, and he does a lot of cool wildcrafting stuff up in Petoskey, Michigan. So you're kind of in the region, I would say. Compared to me, I would definitely, if you have the opportunity to ever go to any of his workshops or anything that he does, I would go see him. But yesterday he just did this post, and it was about academia and how oftentimes people immersed in that world are afraid to take risks.
Sure.
And he was like, why? And so, there's a flood of all these questions or answers to the question. And I'm very much an out of the box person. I love education. I think it's really important. I don't belong in the more structured kinds of systems. I don't work well in them. That's fine. That's part of why I'm an herbalist. That's part of my rebellion. And my take on it was just that, they're raised to understand that this is the one way that things can work. And they're put in this box so that they don't have the power to think outside of the box, to go against the system and perhaps be that rebel. Anyways, somewhat off the topic. And I could rant on that for a very long time. But back to the what you had to say. It's empowering.
It is. And that's really, like, again, going to the product line that I have, that is what that's designed to do, right? So if you don't know how to make a Yarrow healing salve, right? There's mine. There's also other ones out there, but get one, use it. Start empowering yourself on using something that's not from the drugstore, connecting with the plants, seeing how powerful they are, trusting yourself, because the more you do it, the more trust you have. Working with something like a fire cider, right? Oh, I have a tickle in my throat. I'm going to try this thing that somebody on the internet said I should try, right? Whether you buy it or whether you make it yourself, doesn't matter. You try it, lo and behold, it works. And you're like, hey, I listened to my body long enough to realize something was going on. And I did something about it and that thing worked. And again, you're just building that trust. And then you're like, and then you'll do more and you'll do more and you'll do more. And that trust will compound. Yep. And then when you do need to go see medical professionals, you'll have a solid voice.
That's the piece also. You can advocate for yourself. That is a beautiful thing. Rarely does my daughter ever need to go to the doctor for anything other than like, it's been a few years. How you doing? But one time she had a respiratory infection and the in-laws were like, take her to the doctor. It had been lingering for a while. And I did take her to the urgent care. And they ran all these tests and they're like, nope, it's not this, it's not that. And like, my daughter was looking at this doctor in the most skeptical ways. And the way she called him out was hilarious. Like, she was like 8. And he was like, it's not bacterial. He's like, and she was like, then why are you giving me antibiotics? We left there and she was like, Mom, he didn't know what he was talking about. I was like, I love you. You are from that moment back. For sure. Like, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Okay. So I know we've been talking a lot about this in the Community Herbalist program, but I'm really excited for what you have coming up this summer. And I've loved listening to you talk on this podcast and sharing your experience and your journey and becoming an herbalist and living this lifestyle, because that's what it is. But let's talk about what you are offering this summer for people.
Yes. So this summer, I'm going to be offering a seasonal herbal product making series here on my property. So I don't have 10 acres, but I have 5.5. It's good enough.
And a stunning garden.
And gorgeous garden.
Yeah.
So last year, I actually spent a decent amount of time last year getting all of the permitting and everything like that to be able to have events on my property, which I don't know if anyone's ever gone through permitting. It's a beast. So now that I have everything that I need, we're going to put those permits to really good use. And we're going to start offering different herbal making classes here where you can come out, you can see the garden. And what's great is they'll be throughout the summer and a little bit into the fall. So we'll start in June and then the classes will end in October. So if you come to all of them, you'll be able to see the garden through the seasons, right? And so you'll be, yes, how fun is that? You'll be able to see what blooms at what time of year, when you want to harvest St. John's wort versus when you want to harvest yellow dock versus when you'd want to harvest, I don't know, skullcap, right? Just thinking of herbs that I'm growing out there in my garden. We're going to be doing a number of different types of herbal preparations, kind of in line with what month they are held in. So for June, we're going to be talking everything like summer first aid. So what plants can you turn to for summer first aid? And then we'll make a couple of first aid preparations for people to take home with them. In August, when it's sweltering and 95% humidity, at least here in Wisconsin, we'll be talking about how we can cool our bodies down with various herbs and making some fun different drinks with herbs to really both hydrate and cool the body. Mm-hmm. And then in September, we'll be doing fire cider because everybody should have fire cider waiting for them throughout the cooler months. That's something I very strongly believe in. And then in October, we're going to be looking at medicinal broths. So I know people are really into bone broth, or at least my algorithm, people are really into bone broth. But we'll be looking at how bone broth's already great, right? Super awesome in and of itself. But what can we do with various broths, even if it doesn't have bones in it, right? If you don't want to use animal parts in your broth, how can you make a nourishing, immune supportive, gut supportive broth that you could drink either when you're not feeling well or just throughout the colder months to really keep your vitality up? That's what we'll be doing. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm really excited that you're doing it, and I know it's going to be a lot of fun and such an incredible offering for your community. Like raising that awareness of the importance of these herbs. And yes, they work. And the credibility you have from being in the medical system for so long, like you got a little bit both going for you there. And I think that's so amazing. So yay, I wish I could come out to Wisconsin and visit you and take advantage of it, which my brain was just like, wait, my father-in-law is in Wisconsin also, and we are supposed to go there. I made my daughter in Wisconsin as well.
There you go.
Yeah. I have so many ties to Wisconsin. It's really kind of creepy, honestly, but that is super exciting. How could anybody who's either in Wisconsin or cruising through the area take advantage of these classes and sit in your stunning garden and learn about these plants and this medicine?
Yeah. So I have a website, bellebrookbotanicals.com. And of course, you can reach out to me via that, right? So there's a contact section. You can send me a message there. You can connect with me on socials. So I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. Both are Bellebrook Botanicals. So keeping things very, very simple here. Mm-hmm. And once I get the links spin up on my website, because that's where people will actually have to go to register for the classes, I'll be posting a bunch of information about the classes and so forth. So if you're interested, social is really where to hear like the latest and greatest about what's up and coming. Yes, the link is ready. Go ahead and sign up, that type of stuff. And you can also email me. It's bellebrookbotanicals@gmail.com.
Awesome. Yeah. And of course, I'll be linking to all those things, especially once you get the classes up on your beautiful website. We'll make sure that it's linked on this episode as well. And definitely go check out her Instagram because you make the greatest videos. I love your videos on Instagram. So they're helpful and inspiring. And if you are somebody out there listening to this and you're like, gosh, I'm really interested in herbs, but I don't have the time or energy to make my own, definitely check out Bellebrook Botanicals because I know Monica makes her stuff with epic quality and pride behind every ingredient and every process in making these great remedies. So it does make a difference when you are supporting and buying from herbalists that actually give a damn than when you're going and buying that supplement that has 97 different ingredients in it because some guy in a lab coat was like, hey, we can make money if we market this way, and has big investors behind him. They're not making their medicine as good. And it does make a dramatic impact when the person making your medicine puts good energy, love, and intention in it. So support your small and local herbalist, starting with Bellebrook Botanicals.
Right?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being here and chatting. It's super fun to hear your story and your knowledge and wisdom that you're sharing. I'm super jazzed that we got to do this finally.
Yes. Me too. Yeah, this was great, Mel. Thanks for having me on the show.
Of course, of course. Do you have any last parting words of wisdom you would like to share with people listening?
I would just say for anyone who is studying herbs or, reading about herbs or wanting to try to get into herbalism in any shape, capacity, is just words of encouragement to just do it. Just do it. Just make the salve, make the tincture, make the product, try it out. If it doesn't work, nobody knows. First of all, nobody knows. If you just make it and try it and you're like, it didn't work, nobody knows. And you learn so much by doing that. And then also, if you know anything about herbs, don't be afraid to share it, right? So we always have to be mindful of safety, right? And, drug interactions and things like that. But you don't have to know everything to know something. So if somebody comes to you and they're like, I'm really stressed out right now, everything in my life is spiraling, I don't know what to do. And you're like, hey, I think chamomile might be helpful. You can say, hey, I think chamomile might be helpful. Right? You don't have to be studying herbs for 10 years, 20 years, 40 years to know that, hey, this might be helpful and offer that. Because I think the more it becomes commonplace and the more people are talking about it and sharing what they do know and encouraging people again to empower themselves with whatever they might be facing in life, the better off we're going to be as a society and a community.
Yeah. That's how we make herbalism spread like wildflowers. Yeah. And in that, I will just iterate your part of like being aware of safety and contraindications, because that is also really important in there. Because there are a lot of people out there that do share stuff, but they don't share very safety conscious things. And there are a lot of people that do. So just make sure when you're sharing, chamomile's definitely one of those easier ones. So I will say I'm doing Herbalism Club for the kids at my daughter's school this year. And we were blending teas and I was teaching about how to formulate teas. And one kiddo she was like, well, when I drink the chamomile, it burns my throat. Oh, great. We're not going to put chamomile in this big group tea, right? Thank you for letting us know. So there will be some people that are like that. And thankfully, there's many other herbs to choose from. Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome, Monica. Thank you for sharing, again, all of your wisdom, your knowledge, your time with everybody. And I really appreciate all the work you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of The Herbalist Path. If you're loving this journey into herbal medicine, please follow and review the show. It helps more people find their own path with the plants. And if you know someone who could use this kind of support, please share this episode with them. So that way we can keep making herbalism spread like wildflowers. Also, a gentle reminder, nothing shared on this podcast is intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. This is all for educational purposes, and yeah, a little entertainment too. But it is not a substitute for personalized care from a qualified health practitioner. Always do your own research, listen to your body, and when needed, partner with a trusted professional who honors both your intuition and your unique health journey. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep walking the herbalist path. If you have been paying any kind of attention to the world today, you know that there are so many people out there that are struggling for one reason or another. And if you're listening to this podcast, or if you're like me, you likely have a lot of compassion and empathy and this strong desire to do whatever you can to help other people. And if that is you, I did put together a guide for you. It's called Medicine for the People, an herbalist guide to showing up for your community in times of need. And I give you plenty of ideas in ways that you can use your herbal skills to help people in your community and organizations to connect with that can help you along the path as well. So if you want that guide, you better believe it is linked down in the show notes, totally free, really just a way to inspire you to take your herbal skills and knowledge and step out to help people that need you here and now. So it's linked for you. Go ahead and grab it if you want it. Take care.